Hey traders, so welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Sunday video. In this video, we will be talking about gold, silver, Bitcoin, Nasdaq, S&P 500, Dow Jones and DXY2. So we have a lot to cover. So without any further ado, let's start the video. Before we actually dive in, make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button as it really helps me and motivates me to continue making some quality educational content for all of you. Now, first of all, we should start with gold, which is everyone's favorite, obviously. So, for gold, I took a long position on gold and around the 2865 area and booked my profits on gold around this 3000 levels on gold in the last week. As we can see on gold, gold has been in a monster rally since the start of 2025 and every dip on gold is being bought. Every dip is being bought. Every dip is being bought by the sellers. Now here is the question mark and the question here arises, will this dip be bought back again in gold and can we see some higher levels around the 3100 or not? Now I'm not going to call a top on gold, but we have to understand that what actually caused this monster rally on gold. If we see that we have been seeing this monster rally since the start of 2025 in gold, and this monster rally was mostly caused by some tariff uncertainties, some trade war uncertainties, and some recession fears too along with it. But recently, what I think is that mostly the recession fears and the trade war uncertainties they have been already priced in this market. The retail is panicking about the recession fears, but recession, in my view, is not the base case right now because the US economy is still very much strong, the US labor market is still very much strong, and at the same time, we are seeing inflation at least coming down for now. That's why I don't think so that the recession is a base case right now, and we can see due to this some profit taking moves in gold in the upcoming week, maybe back to this 2950 zone or even lower around this 2920 zone. Now, with this pullback, with this profit taking, if it happens in the next week, I will not be looking to enter in some sell positions. Rather than that, I will be waiting for some better price setups at lower levels around the 2950s or even lower around the 2920s to look for entering into some longer term buys again on gold. Because if we see in the longer run, gold stays very much bullish because obviously you still have the trade war uncertainties, you still have DXY outflows, you still have some geopolitical uncertainties and some other stuff like this. And along with this, the major thing is going to be you still have a very strong global market demand of gold. And at the same time, you still have global interest rate cuts. So all these factors in the longer run, they will continue to support gold. But in the short term, we have to adapt to the market waves and we have to be careful of the market waves. And in the short run, obviously, with these market waves, we can see some profit taking in gold and gold can go back to test some lower levels before actually being bought back again. So this was pretty much it for gold, and for my gold long position I actually shared this long position which I took here in my free telegram channel, and this position was totally shared for free. So if you are someone who is interested in some free educational content and some free trading content, I will drop the link of my free telegram channel in description. You can check it out from there. Now, talking about silver, silver is another long position in which I am in, and for the silver position too, I shared this inside my free Telegram channel. So you can check it out. You can check my free Telegram channel from the link given in the description. Now for silver, I am currently in a long position on silver and I actually got long on this silver position when on Friday it dipped and tested this major support zone. So I think that we can see some continuation of this uptrend on the silver. Uh, Even if gold pullbacks, mostly gold and silver moves the same. But right now, I think silver has not backed up the gold fully, not had followed the gold fully. That's why we can see some continuation of the move of the uptrend move in silver, even if gold does a pullback, mainly because of some recession fears, tariff fears, as they are still present in the market, but in some assets they have been mostly priced in. And the global demand for silver also remains a valid reason to be long on silver. But even in the next week, if silver goes and hits my SL, I will not be sad. Obviously, I am a trader. I will be looking for better price opportunities, for better buys opportunities at the lower levels around this $31 level. So this is my plan for the silver. And if we go and talk about the S&P 500, the S&P 500 had a rough few weeks in the past days, and we can clearly see that bears had full control on the S&P 500. Now this rally to the downside in the S&P 500 was also mostly fueled by tariff fears, some trade war uncertainties, and some recession fears. As the S&P 500 is a risky asset, so whenever there is some increasing uncertainty in the markets, whenever the uncertainty is increasing, these assets like the S&P 500 or Nasdaq or Bitcoin, they tend to fall big. That's why we were seeing some downward move in the S&P 500. But currently, as you can see, I am in a long position on the S&P 500 because I think maybe for the S&P 500 we have already found a bottom and we can see some continuation of this short-term rally to the upside on the S&P 500 too. And who knows, maybe this short-term rally will convert into a longer-term rally and we may see some new all-time highs on the S&P 500 in the coming weeks. Now, the reason behind that is that, as I told you earlier, that this rally was mostly fueled by some trade war uncertainties, some tariff fears, and stuff like this. But right now, what I think is that all these things they have been mostly priced in this market, and at the same time you had some recession fears, right? The recession is not the base case, the retail is panicking about it, but this is not the case right now. We are traders and we have to trade based on the facts, and the facts are that the US economy is still strong, the US labor market is still strong, and we can still see the S&P 500 continuing the uptrend. That's why I'm on a long position on the S&P 500, and for some of you this may look a foolish position because the S&P 500 is testing a major resistance level on the daily time frame, but I have still taken a long position. Now, why I have taken a long position? This is because the analysis of this trade is mainly focused on the 4-hour time frame. We can see on the 4-hour time frame the S&P 500 is making some higher highs, some higher lows, and at the same time you have this strong support zone on the 4-hour time frame for the S&P 500. So this is a good sign. That's why I have taken an early position on the S&P 500 too. But still, if in the next week the sellers prove me silly and the sellers continue to take this market to the downside, then I will be booking a loss on the S&P 500. But at the same time, I will be looking at some lower levels to buy back the dip on the S&P 500 too. Now, if we move on to the Nasdaq or the Dow Jones, same thing for the Nasdaq, Dow Jones, or even for the Bitcoin too. I think that they have found a bottom because the trade war uncertainties, the tariff fears, they have been mostly priced in. This was the actual fear of the market. The trade war uncertainties, the tariff fears, or the recession. These were the major reasons why all these risky assets were falling. But they have been mostly priced in these markets, and that's why I think that we can see a bottom, a short-term bottom in all these risky assets. Now, for the Nasdaq or for the Bitcoin or for the Dow Jones, I am not currently in any long positions in them. I am only in a long position on silver and the S&P 500. For me to enter into a long position on the Bitcoin or on the Dow Jones or on the Nasdaq, what I want to see is that buyers reclaiming this support zone, these some major support levels, and if that happens and if these zones turned as support zones, then I will be looking to buy at a possible pullback, and I will be looking to buy the Dow Jones or the Nasdaq or the Bitcoin. For the Nasdaq, if we see specifically about the technicals, then I will be waiting for the Nasdaq to claim back this 20K level. And if we do claim back this level, then obviously I will be looking for some retest and then continuation of some higher moves on the Nasdaq. And with that, obviously, I will be looking to enter in some personal long positions on the Nasdaq too. Same thing for the Bitcoin. I want to see Bitcoin reclaiming back this 95K level. And if we do reclaim this back, then I will be interested in some long positions on the Bitcoin too. But currently, I have to manage my risk. That's why I am on the risky asset side. I am only in a longer run, long position on the S&P 500 with a very minimal risk of 0.50%. So this is my plan for the upcoming week. And if we go with the dollar index, so the dollar index have been tumbling in the past few weeks, and the reason for dollar index to crack is mainly because the America is putting tariffs on some other countries, but at the same time those other countries are also putting back tariffs on the America too. So this is a negative thing for the dollar, and at the same time the CPI, the inflation, or the PPI, all these were down. That's why we are expecting the interest rate cuts to still come in 2025. So this is again a negative thing for the dollar index. And again, the February data about the US economy, that was a little bad. which makes the US dollar a little bit less attractive. That's why we were seeing all these bearish moves in the US dollar index too. I'm currently bearish on the dollar index, and I think that even if dollar index pullbacks a little bit, but this bearish trend will remain intact. We can see obviously some pullbacks back to this maybe 106 level, but I think that dollar index can very well go lower and test this level around the 100. So we can very well see this on the dollar index too. And this was my plan for the next week. And all my trades, again, this is a reminder, all my trades which I took on the gold, which I am currently in on silver, or on the S&P 500, and whatever new trades I will be taking, all these trades are being shared in our free Telegram channel. So if you are someone who is interested in that, you can surely check out our Telegram channel from the link given in description. So this was pretty much it for the video. Best of luck for the upcoming week and best of luck for your trading.